Paloma is located in the southern Highlands in New South Wales.
It's backed by a really dense rainforest behind the house, and it's set looking over the valley towards the national park to the north.
Its previous life was agricultural, and then it's been converted into gardens that sit as the curtilage around the main house.
The environment here is really rich and dense. It's often foggy mornings and a lot of rainfall, so it's really lush and landscaped. The client came to us and they had already worked with the interior designer Michela Curetti and the landscape designer Myles Baldwin on other projects, and they were really interested in finding an architect to provide the vessel for interiors and the landscape. They had seen our work in other projects and invited us over from New Zealand to work on the project. But it was about collaborating early on with those key people, Michela and Myles, on creating an architecture that delivered the interiors and the art and the collection that the client has, and a landscape that was really interesting and powerful to look out to.
And we were aware with Michela's work that there would be this richness, this layering, and also with Myles and his gardens, this direction that the gardens would be raw and natural. So we had in our minds quite diverse ingredients as we started to sculpt and play with ideas of how to capture those forms.
Paloma is set outside Robertson, which is a small rural town. So you leave Robertson and drive down a long kind of country road. The house is set at the top of the site, so you arrive from below. There's a big sliding gate and an old kind of telephone box as the intercom, the connection with the house above. So you dial in. Once you come through the gate, there's a stables building at the bottom of the site and various paddocks. You drive up the land through orchards and the original farmhouse. The clients have horses which they ride every day, and there's lots of wildlife here as well that they engage with the house. So you arrive behind the house and descend down through the water garden. There's a really big aged brass door that's really discreet, and behind that is this amazing artwork called Folly. When you arrive into the house, the living and kitchen all set to the view and the eastern side of the house. We worked a lot with Michela on the kitchen, Michela Curetti, so it was heavily influenced by her kind of Italian heritage and the client's Italian heritage as well. And it is meant to be this modern interpretation of a farmhouse kitchen where everything's on display, and there's kind of tactility and materiality that's rich. There's tiling on the wall, which is all reclaimed tiles, and the big central kind of oven in the middle is all kind of exposed brass detailing and a big rain shoot overhead.
A theme that's common in a lot of our projects is that there is a moderating layer. There's always a sense of an element that can be controlled and manoeuvred that allows views to be manipulated, sun to be controlled in different seasons, and that combines with the internal layers and Michela's layering of the curtains and the textile within. So we think of enclosure in a number of different layers, and it's not as simple as opening or wall. It's the layers that sit beyond those, the sort of the screens externally, tactility of materiality inside and textiles, and when they're manoeuvred, the building is alive, and it provides a sense of variety and change that we love, so that the architecture isn't static.
The library is this real surprise, and it's set into the hill on the site. It's kind of bunkered in, and you arrive through reasonably kind of discreet doors that are all plastered the same colour as the walls into this ante-space that are these knuckles of precast walls set in the water garden that start displaying some of the objects that are inside the library. There's two big sliding doors that take you into the library proper, and that's where Michela's work really started to shine. it is this labyrinth of spaces and richness of material and colour that displays the client's really significant collection.
We were delighted that the design and occupation of the library was far outside of what we had imagined. Michela came and gave us a unique vision, and it had a sense of theatre and discovery within its own confines. We were always looking at the different relationships between interior and exterior and the different parts of the landscape we were trying to capture. The water component was one that was in our thinking. There was a moment where Myles's work and his consideration of the sort of curtilage of the building connected with the house and the discussion on water and how water might be introduced against the building and the play of water. To the view, the building surveys a planted garden. To the uphill side, the water garden is a different landscape experience, and it weaves through the building. It provides an opportunity of light and exposure and noise through the building. There's this idea that it's a beautifully simple yet complex house. The proposition externally is of simplicity and line, but there is a movement and a strategy within the building which is complex and delineates the public components of the house from the private occupation. There are parts of the house that people aren't actually aware of, just with the strategies of interfacing with the landscape. The library is subterranean, with one aspect where it opens to a very limited view, and we love that. We love the idea that the building
Is discovery.
is discovered. I think both of the clients' personalities are embedded in the architecture. There is obviously the collections and the housing of the collections, which are obvious spaces defined by the client's unique briefs. But I think the lifestyle that the house has relates to living in the countryside, the idea of gathering, provisioning, living off the land.
The house is completely off-grid. It has really substantial gardens that produce, most of the food that they eat here. And that sense of being able to live out here reasonably remotely was part of the kind of our thinking as well.
Coming back after not being here for a while and seeing those rituals being part of the house, being entertained in the house and seeing how it's being lived in is so rewarding, because the imagination of what that could be at the beginning has been fulfilled.
As a food stylist, I'm always drawn to beautiful things in the kitchen. And the La Cornue Chateau is like the pinnacle of beauty. In this house, when you walk in, your eye is drawn to the oven. The La Cornue is the statement piece of the kitchen. I think the colours, the white, the brass that pops off the oven, it all complements each other with the American oak timber. I think it all looks amazing.